Hello everyone and welcome to week 23 of the Gran Turismo weekly race guide. We are fast approaching halfway through the year already. It has gone very quickly. Before we jump into the race, let's all wish ERM Nick a very happy birthday. Right, okay, let's have a look at the race details then, because you can see what we're racing in the background. We're racing 3 laps and we're racing it at Autopolis. It's a grid start and we are on sports hard tyres. Now, if you haven't seen and you just can't tell, it is the GT86 versus the BRZ, and the GT86 is the one to choose apparently, because partner, I guess, I don't know, but you know, there are a couple of BRZs in the race. Let's jump to the race, which actually I would say is a pretty good race. Here we are then at the start of the grid. As I say, there are a couple of BRZs, Max Power and also Alex there in BRZ, but the majority in the GT86 or 86 GT in this situation. Of course, for Daily Race A, we do not qualify. We start at the back and let's see what happens here. Flashing our lights, you will need traction control for this grid start, so make sure you whack that on 1. Off you go, and then the minute it stops, just turn it off before you go to second gear. And you can see a couple of people have made mistakes there. Sam on the right and the German driver on the left. I just missed that name there as we head towards turn 1. So, you know, my common advice here at Autopolis turn 1 is always stay on the inside. There's always a lot of dives going on, but occasionally you can take the risk. Ruin your race. Unfortunately, ruins their race quite quickly there, but they managed to keep it on the circuit, luckily there, but they outbroke themselves, and we're looking on the inside of them now as we go up to P8 there. We're just like out of side-by-side action there with Zodiac, so I'm not going to go for the ultimate dive here, and Zodiac was that off very nicely indeed. The Spaniard up ahead goes a little bit wide, but you can see you can have some good racing already here. Turn 1 is the risky part of this, turn 1 lap 1, where it is at any race really, but obviously grid starts kind of critical. As through there we go. And once again, we're looking on the inside of Zodiac, but we're not quite there, although it's getting closer, closer. We get it on the inside then, and look at this, some beautiful racing side by side through this long left-hander, both giving each other space here. Zodiac now on the sort of inside to outside as we approach the hairpin, but it looks like they're going to keep that spot for now as we head towards that braking zone. They've just got enough of a run there with that slipstream. And they still give me room though, so fair play. But line astern through there behind me as we continue on through there. And that's how you know ruin your race. Just outbroke themselves there. It wasn't a pal drive into that hairpin. We advance a bit further on then. Onto lap 2 we go. Nothing changed, status quo. But into turn 1, the drivers up ahead all just outbreak themselves a little bit. All run a little bit too wide. And we're about to get 2 for 1. Happy days. Up into the cursed position. That is P Steve, or as you guys are now calling it, P Tidge, of course, as we advance a bit further on here. So, can we remove the curse? Well, yes, we can, because unfortunately, up ahead, there is a British driver who went full on into the barrier there. Met Barry R, which we did previously at Autopolis. Now, we're going to go into a lap guide, give you a little bit of advice and tips here. So heading towards turn 1, we're not using white van man on the right. We're going to be using, as we stop it here, the orange paint on the left. So you want to get quite close to that, and then you want to brake. Now, I brake a little bit late here, I think, from memory. And yeah, I'm just going to go a little bit deep. It's nothing major. I clipped the curb just there, but I'm running a little bit wide. So you can see how you use that orange paint marker. You may want to brake a little bit earlier potentially, but that's the marker you use there. Use that as your reference point. Head towards turn 2 then. We use the same marker as always, which is the tarmac on the left, but you can brake a little bit after in this GT86. So once it's disappeared off the screen, then start braking. You don't necessarily have to brake at it, but if you're struggling with the brakes, maybe you want to brake at it just so then you've got the reference in sight. Through here, bounce the car, just on and off the throttle, bounce it as best as you can. And we're then going to hit the hairpin. We take quite a far left line here, but of course, we use white van man here as the reference marker all the time. It's a brilliant marker for the hairpin. We're going to brake just after that disappears off the screen here, because we have such an angle on the corner that we can carry a little bit more speed than normal. So through there we go. I was debating second or third gear. I think second gear for now, but if you don't want the gear delay, third is what you want to do there. Now you lift off, turn in here, potentially. There we go. I was going to say you meant to, but we delayed it a little bit. But then as we get to the middle of the corner, where that marshal box is here, that's your acceleration point. You should be flat out at this point. The minute that's the center of your screen, not to the left, the center of your screen, put your foot down and off you go, and you should be fine through the rest of that corner. This car handles beautifully at this circuit. Head towards the hairpin then. The 50-meter board is your marker. It's very late braking, much later than normal, but it's the grip of the tyres. We're on sports hard tyres, which are very grippy for a road car, especially one with a little less horsepower, but you can use that 50-meter board. You're going to drop to second gear. Again, this is a corner where potentially you might want to stay in third because it's downhill. You can literally stay in third, let the bog happen a little bit, and then change the delay that you would have. You don't necessarily have now. Heading towards this right-hander then, the right-hand side, that pole is what we always use here. Now, you want to change gear to third early here, rather than changing it mid-corner. You'll see that on the previous lap. So third gear there, and then you're staying in third gear for the rest of this section then. No need to change to fourth, and it allows the car to stay balanced for this section here. And you're just bouncing the car through the right-hander. When you get to the left, when you start straightening up for the right again is when you want to brake. So you notice I'm going to brake here, and I broke in a straight line, and then I'm just bouncing the car through here. Now this, I'm staying in third gear. You can do it in second. It's that same decision you make at both the hairpins. Same decision there, and I found third gear absolutely fine through there. And you can notice it's pretty much flat out through there. I did a little lift. And for here as well, it's just letting off the accelerator and let the car roll. Look at how it rolls beautifully. We balance the throttle, and the minute you see that tarmac right there, you should be on full throttle once again, and you should make the corner absolutely fine. Unless you've carried a hilarious amount of speed, then obviously you won't. But you can see there we were flat on the throttle again and through there, and we do catch up to Alex, but we're not going to quite overtake the BRZ. But I think you can have some good racing here. Don't get me wrong, there will be some dives because you have to dive in some of these situations, but just be very well aware of who's racing clean, who's not. But we had some good side-by-side action there. Big thank you to Zodiac for the side-by-side action on the left-hander. It was beautiful racing there. So shout out to you. That's it for race A. Let's go to one of the best daily races I've ever had now in race B. Welcome then to Sardegna and the A layout of the circuit. Let's have a look at the race details first of all. We're racing 4 laps at Sardegna layout A. It's a rolling start, but it's a long start-finish straight, as you're very well aware. I'm out on the racing medium tyres, so nice and grippy there for the Group 4 machinery that you can see in the background. FFs are reigning supreme here, so the RCZs are very much up there. The Scirocco was the top time as I went in, so I chose the Scirocco. And now, folks, you're about to see one of the best daily races I've had in a very long time, if not ever. It is superb racing. I thoroughly enjoyed this. So sit back and relax because you're going to see most of the race, as well as a lap guide as well. I am going to try and put one in there, but there's a lot of action. So let's go with race B. Here we are then at the start of the grid. As you see, RCZ, then myself. Look, do you know what? I'm getting kind of lucky lately that I'm not putting in my fastest laps towards the end of... I basically give myself 10 minutes to put a qualifying time in. I may stop doing that for a little while, maybe on tracks like this where you can actually have potentially some good racing in terms of from the back. On the tighter circuits, I may go for some qualifying. I don't know, but I'm glad I qualified where I did because you're about to watch an insane race as we set off here. As you can see, the start-finish line is 3 years long, so no need to worry about traction control. Do make sure you upshift quite quickly in the FF cars, though, because you will get a little bit of wheel spin. Now, heading towards turn 1, I'm going to go into the brake markers as always. You're going to brake at the 100-meter board or where the orange paint is on the right-hand side there. However, obviously, this is the first lap. I'm starting near the front, so I'm not carrying enough speed, so I'll brake a little bit later. Obviously, the further back you are, the closer to that brake marker you're going to be on lap 1. Through here, nice and easy, flat out. And as you head towards this left-hander, obviously, you can see we're getting close to the Spaniard here, so I'm sort of moving out here just to have a look. But basically, what your aim is to brake as close to the gravel trap. Brake as close to the gravel trap as possible, if I can speak. And then basically trail brake towards the apex. You want to get as far left as possible then for this right-hander. Now, you want to use the start of the curb on the right-hand side as your marker to then be turning in for this right-hander. Sometimes you won't have to brake. Sometimes a little bit of braking is necessary in order to slow down the car. As you see there, I just dab the brake a little bit. And through there we go. Now, I do it in third gear. Second gear generates too much wheel spin in the FF car, so you might want to higher gear there. Head towards this left then, a very tricky left. On the right hand side there, you have 2 PlayStation billboards. The second to last one is the one I use, and I use the far right hand side of it as a marker. I'm braking early here, but you want to get as close to that as possible. You can't really brake on it. It's just your marker and reference, so just be careful of that. But you want to get as close as possible to that right hand side of the billboard, being on the end of the screen. As you can see here, the Spaniard going very defensive here as we head up this section here, uphill, flat out. And you're going to see some brake boards up ahead. You got the 200, the 150, but you're looking for that 100-meter board there for this corner. You want to brake just after it, actually, in the FF cars. They can brake so late, as you're about to see here. We're just about to hit the anchors. And there we go. And the Spaniard defends that very nicely. And through there we go. Again, second gear, you'll get a little bit of wheel spin, so be careful of any understeer that you get from that power of the FF cars. Up here is flat. And you want to get as far right as possible. Now, I struggled here a little bit because I couldn't see very well being on the bumper cam. But the end of this curb here, this grey curb, you want to dab the brake a tiny bit and then turn in. And hope that you don't hit the barrier. Now, I take a very different line here for this race because I'm right behind the Spaniard. And as we head towards the last corner, it's a 100-meter board. Basically, just brake just after that, and you should get the car turned in just enough time as we do that. So there we go. Braking. And we missed the apex a little bit there, but that's just because we couldn't see the apex being on bumper cam. Which reminds me of why I did move away from bumper cam a little bit, but I appear to be faster with it, which is why we're sticking with it. Right, that's the lap guide done. You can do this flat, by the way. It's now time for some racing action. Now, I was quite close to Adrian there. So what I did do just before that fast right is I lifted off a little bit to try and get a bit of slipstream on this bit. But the overrun wasn't really happening here. But we're going to go for a very risky move into turn one then. Going to try and outbrake the Spaniard and go around the outside. And look at this for some beautiful racing. Leaves me just enough space there. Absolutely superb by the Spaniard. And we're carrying on side by side. A shout out to Adrian for this because this is some unbelievable racing. We've got Matteo as well behind as we head into here. I'm trying to go around the outside here. Not going to quite work this time. Spaniard covers it off beautifully and keeps P1 for now. Obviously a Valentino Rossi fan there with the number 46 on. But we're about to get to a very flat out section, aren't we? So that's going to mean slipstream galore as we come in, or Galar, maybe? I don't know. I'm going full Australian. Anyway, continue out of there, and this is where the slipstream really has an impact. So you can't really break away in this race. So you are going to have a lot of racing in this. Now, there potentially could be some dirty driving into barriers, etc., and dives. However, this race doesn't have that. You're about to see this. So it goes defensive on the inside. Again, we're going to try and look around the outside. Not going to quite work, so we'll go for a little bit of a cutback. Matteo shows his nose there, doesn't quite get it done, and it's line astern through there. But this is, honestly, this is so good. I had a beaming smile after this race because it just gets better and better. As we head up the hill again, very hard to see on this bumper cam. This time, we just dab the brake a little bit there. A little bit too late, in my opinion, to do that. But the lift was enough, in my opinion, as well. In towards the 100-meter board, and we're staying line astern for now. So through there we go, and you can see how we got a lot of wheel spin there. Rev limiter being hit, that's just the wheel spin. But we've got a much further gap, or much bigger gap, should I say. So this is what I wanted, because I wanted a big run at the Spaniard heading towards turn one, and he knows what's coming here. So he's going to go defensive, stay to the left-hand side, which he has every right to do. And I'm going to go towards the right-hand side to try and get that overrun. So we're much further along this time, in towards the braking zone with that slipstream. And look at this for some beautiful racing once again. Side-by-side action gives me just enough room. Superb driving by Adrian. As through the left-hander we go. And we're still... Look at this, side-by-side still. It's beautiful. It's fantastic. Oh, what are we doing here? Ping pong or racing? We're doing racing! As we are now on the inside for this right-hander. And we just give enough room on the exit as well. So we carry on side-by-side. It's a line of RCZs behind this Scirocco, but are we going to keep the position as we head into here? I have to brake a little bit later than I expected, just because he's still there. And on the exit, gives me enough room as well. This is where the big contacts will happen on the exit of that corner. People hitting the barrier and slowing down a little bit. But we do get that position finally. Now, what I do is a bit of smart racing here. Matteo had a bigger run, so it's like, okay, I'll give the slipstream to Adrian now. Should be side-by-side action for them. Should, or potentially give me some hope in escaping. We're going to brake just after the 100-meter board there. He obviously carried a lot less speed out the other corner, so that's why I could brake a little bit later on. And we get the position for now. For now. But what I am going to do, I'm going to show you how to do this corner a little bit better than I did last time. As we come up here, you notice I'll go a bit closer to here, and then we're just lifted, and I dab the brake there as well. I would dab the brake a little bit earlier than I did, but obviously I could see I was carrying a bit too much speed, so that's why I did it there. Now, leaving this corner then, we have 2/10 of a gap. 2/10 of a second gap there, and Adrian's going to have the same run he did on me, but the RCZ just has that bit more speed there in the slipstream, just gets to its top speed a little bit better, and in towards the braking zone. He got some Matteo going to try and follow Adrian through the corner. We've got to leave room there, which we do indeed, and we're going to have some side-by-side action with Matteo. In fact, no, we're not. Matteo gets it done there. Beautiful move round the outside there of turn one. Fair play to Matteo. But it's not over yet. It's not over. We're just fast forwarding a little bit here just so you can see the action. And we've got GT Cage behind us as well. But look at this now. Matteo goes defensive. Beautiful defensive driving. So we're looking to try and just get P2 now in towards the braking zone. We're going to try and look around the outside. Very hard to do, if not impossible. And round we go. And Matteo covers that off beautifully. Look at that. And left me enough of a gap there as well, even though I wasn't there. Oh, superb. Super bellissimo as we carry on now up the hill. So the Spaniard made a mistake out there. So we're looking at a fight for the win potentially again. And we just have to overslow the car a little bit there. Not sure what was happening up ahead. Adrian goes defensive. Every right to in towards the braking zone we go. And I went a little bit defensive on Cades as well. I didn't want the RC going down the inside there. Leave that corner. And we're about to finish here. Cades giving us a nice flash there. Shout out to you, Cades, as well. But what a beautiful, beautiful race. Oh, I enjoyed this one so much. You don't get daily races like this very often where you have a full-on race battle the entire time. Fully clean, fully perfect racing. Oh, bellissimo, as I said just before. Absolutely fantastic. Not all races are going to be like this. But, you know, you can have races like this with this one with the slipstream helping out, etc. Just got to be careful of those barriers and any potential dives that happen. That's it for race B, though. Let's go to another good race in race C, where we head to Germany and the Nurburgring. But hallelujah, it is not the 24-hour layout or the Nordschleife. It is just the GP section, which we haven't done in quite a while, actually, thinking about it in terms of daily races, which is kind of nice, to be honest. Let's have a look at the race details, first of all. We're racing 10 laps here at the Nürburgring GP layout. It's a rolling start, and you do have to be careful with this rolling start, by the way, as you'll see. Racing soft and medium tyres both are required. Fuel usage ×1 and tyre wear ×7. As you can see in the background, we are in Group 3 machinery, and I've picked the RCZ. I've gone back to my old bay here. It's a beautiful car to use here. Absolutely fantastic. Very stable over the chicane as well, so a really good car to use. I assume the fuel usage at ×1 is to help some of the MR cars keep the weight down over the rear so that they can be competitive. I don't fully know, though, and I assume some of the FR cars are going to be pretty strong here, to be honest with you. But RCZ it is for me. It was well up there. Let's jump to the race then, and let's find out what happened, as well as a bit of strategy and a lap guide as well. Here we are then at the start of the grid. Hyundai Genesis on pole position. Yeah, you're seeing that. AMG, RCZ, BMW. I always say this with Group 3, but just bring what you like. The MR cars are going to struggle a bit more over the chicken, but generally speaking, as you can see, I mean, the Peugeot RCZ, that's fine with it. It's just, you know, the Audi, the Lambo, the Ferrari may struggle a little bit, but most cars are going to be fine here. Now the start. Look at where I'm about to start. What on earth is this rolling start? I mean, really, I'm pointing towards the barrier. So I quickly whack traction control on just to survive. And then we continue on as normal in towards the last corner. We go a little bit deep. Obviously, very cold tyres, so we're not getting the braking right. As you see, a Beetle Venture very close to barrier there. And then we're going to go into a lap guide because we're about 3 years off anybody at the moment. So I might as well do the lap guide early on for you. Do warm your tyres up down the start-finish straight, something I didn't do here and I should have done. But entering turn 1, on the left-hand side, you've got that piece of tarmac. As it ends, that's your brake marker in the RCZ. Other cars may vary, of course, but use that as your marker. You also have a tree on the right-hand side if you want to use that. I found that very useful right there. As we continue on through this left-hander, just bounce the car through here very nicely. And then we're going to continue over, and we're going to look for these marks here. Now, I know some people hate these, but it's the marks I always use here at the Nürburgring GP section. There's loads of them. You see all these grey marks. That's when you want to start turning and braking. We get it slightly wrong there. You notice the car started understeering straight off. So I just missed the curb on the left. That's very grippy curbing. You want to get as much of your car on that as possible and then get round here. You can use a lot of the exit there. Go over the white line there. You should be okay. Just be careful about going too far over. Heading towards this left-hander then, as the GPD section goes off, at the very end of that, where I've marked here, you're going to brake there. As you can see, I've just started braking now. You really want to get on the inside of this curb as best as you can. Really try and clip it, and then get as far left as possible. And as this red and white curbing ends, that is when you then brake for the right-hander. And normally you drop a gear in this situation. You normally drop a gear for the first and then drop a gear again because it's a little bit tighter. So we clip the apex there. Try and use all the curb on the exit, but avoid the gravel, of course. And we continue on down towards the hairpin, which you can see is quite busy there of cars. Heading down here then, on the right side, you see that building there. It's a very nice building, by the way. Got lots of drinks and food in there. But basically, the end of that building is what you want to use as your brake marker, or just use the building itself as a brake marker. And then you want to keep it tight here. The V doesn't really work in Gran Turismo. You can do a V shape there, but generally speaking, keeping it tight is better in Gran Turismo. Slight lift here for the Schumacher S. Now, on the softer tyres, you can do even less of a lift, but here we had to lift. And we are looking at Thunderstorm here, so I'm trying to show you the brake marker here. Basically, where the light green AstroTurf is up ahead, you want to get as close to that as possible. Now, in this situation on the medium tyre, I can't get that close, and plus I'm on the inside, so I've had to, you know, avoid the Beetle up ahead. But get as close as you can to that, and you should be fine. This right-hander, there is some dried grass you can use as a lift-off point there, but it's just more of a, you know, go where you see fit there, basically. There's no real marker you can use. Now, we're going to have a look at the Beetle heading towards the chicane here. Now, as you do that, on the right side, we've got the 100-meter board, and there's also some grey drainage curbing there as well. It thickens out. It becomes a thick boy. So you can use either of those as your marker, and they should be good. Make sure you don't cut too much of the first one. That's where you're going to get real penalties. The second one is a bit more lenient, so be careful of that. The last corner, we use White Van Man, of course. That is your reference marker there. Now, I can brake quite late in this RCZ. Some other cars will have to brake a bit earlier. But use that White Van Man as your reference and try and keep it tight here. If you clip the curb, it's beautiful because then you get a good clean exit here and you can run quite wide there as well. Let's advance a bit further on then. Go to lap 2. Well, we were going on to lap 2, but here we go. So you saw this in the TV footage, but the RCZ just clips the grass there, looking for a move on the Beetle, and we take a nice sneaky little line through there, and we gain a position into P16 then, and we've got a Beetle up ahead. Now, we just advance a bit further on here. We've got a really good run on the Beetles. We're looking down the inside of home here. In towards the braking we go, and look at that beautiful racing once again, leaving just enough space there. I leave room on the outside, and we're looking to try and go around the outside. The little tap there, that's nothing major. That was me running them quite tight, and they just clipped the curb there. So, you know, that's not being dirty or anything. It's just some good racing, just, you know, little bounce off a curb. Can't do much about that. We're going to head towards the chicken. No, we're not. We're going to advance a bit further on as we catch up to the RCZ of Hunter here. So we've run quite a tight line there. You want to really be on that grippy stuff, as I say. But Hunter really went deep there. It's really cost him on the exit. It's the reason why you want to stay as far left as possible. So we're going to look down the inside of the RCZ then. They actually back out of that, which is interesting. I guess they were worried about a dive potentially. But, you know, we race clean here. And we get the move done and dusted there. And we're going to advance to lap number 4 now. So a sneaky little merge of, yeah, laps there basically. In towards a hairpin we go. And as we leave this hairpin, you're going to notice in a distance here a Beetle off in the gravel. Now, I want to say this is awesome sportsmanlike conduct because they don't just chuck it back on. They slowly come back on the circuit and then get going again. And it's really, really good sportsmanship. So a shout out to you there. I think it's the Portuguese driver there, Azriel. You know, huge shout out. Now, we do catch up to this French driver here. Now, in terms of strategy, by the way, lap 4 was the earliest of the pit stops I saw from the medium to the softs. I think that is possible, or very much possible. The mediums are quite good tyres, though, to be honest with you. So you do want to run to that lap 4, lap 5 stage. I wanted to go an extra lap, and it was clean air, but I caught up to this French driver after they made a slight mistake. We just had a bit of battle in there. There's a slight tap as I tried to do the dummy, but I just tapped them a little bit. But, you know, they survived. We continue racing, and we're going to head up to the chicane. Now, you can see everybody else really coming in on this lap. So that's the lap 4, lap 5 boundary. Potentially, could you do 6 laps on the soft from the start of the race? Yes. Would you want to? Potentially not. Depends where you are in terms of the grid. But through here, the Frenchman just makes a mistake there, slowing us down a little bit there in terms of the pit entry. And we're fast forwarding this. I should have fast forwarded this a little bit quicker, to be honest with you, as we then leave the pit. So very hard to gauge a time lost there, but I will put it on the screen for you as we then come into turn 1. Now, brake around or just before the 50-meter board for turn 1 as you leave the pits. There's a little sneaky tip there for you. If you brake at 50 meters, you're going to go wide. Make sure you come across. You know, there's no white line penalty for doing that. As we look on the inside of the French driver, not going to quite work here. Slight tap, nothing major. But yeah, you can cross the white line. Just do it in a safe manner. You know, if somebody's there, don't cross it then. But if nobody's there, just put across and take a nice, lovely, normal line. But we need to get past this French RCZ driver. Now, what can we do here? So coming into this right-hander, they go a little bit deep in my opinion. So we're going to get a good run out this corner. And they're just clipping the gravel there. That's what you don't want to do. You definitely don't want to switch the gravel. They go defensive. Very good defensive line here. Going to try around the outside. And look at this for some racing and a half. Look at this beautiful racing here with Frankie. As through there we go. And we're on the inside now for the Schumacher S. So this is all done and dusted very quickly. So I come across a little bit there to get as much of the racing line as I can, which I'm entitled to do. And through there we go. And we are up into P12. So not too shabby. We've now got up to this battle for P10. Now, this has been an intense battle, so we got up to it quite quickly. Mr. Sean and Prince here. So, Prince on the inside there, stopping Sean, going for the move. Now, Sean goes a little bit deep there, so I'm like, ooh, okay, let's see if we can get the move done and dusted here. I was very well aware of the slipstream here, so I'm surprised what happens next, actually. So, Sean doesn't come across there to defend. Maybe a bit unsure to whether to defend or not, but does let me have the inside here. And we do get that position gain there. So, once again, some good racing. Really good racing. I thoroughly enjoyed today. I've got to be honest. It's been brilliant fun. All 3 races, I've had good races with people. Prince just touches the gravel lane, a Schumacher S. So I'm like, okay, let's try around the outside here. This is dangerous. As you see, we get as close as we can to the light green stuff. A little bit of a tap, nothing major again. You know, trying to defend that position as hard as possible. Doesn't quite work out there. Just left me enough space, and I do get that position. Up into P10 then. So we're doing all right, but, you know, this is an acceleration point, and the Aston has good acceleration. Goes to the right inside here, so we go defensive in towards the chicane then, and we get it stopped. Lovely there, and through we go. So that guarantees us the position for now. So we're going to fast forward a little bit here as we head towards turn 1. Now you're going to see a ridiculous penalty. So the German there's lost it somehow, and they're ghosted at the moment. And then, yeah, I just tapped them slightly. I couldn't really do much there. You know, it's just they were coming in to take the race in line again, and yeah, 1 second penalty. I was a bit furious with that because it sort of ruined the day a little bit. But you know, I'm not gonna be bitter over it. It's just the penalty system being the penalty system. However, here's a good tip. So if you do take a penalty, stay on the inside line here. They have to go around all the way around the outside. Now, you do have to be careful because obviously your braking zone is going to be very different to a normal line. But we defend very nicely there from Mr. Sean. And then we have another ghosting incident nearly there, but we did catch up to the South African. Really struggling with their lag, as you're about to see. So they go a little bit deep here, so I'm like, okay, excellent. We'll get on the inside here, and we'll have a bit of a run with the Porsche driver here. So we've got the slight right here, where it gives us a bit of an advantage. In towards the chicane then, and yeah, the laggy boy goes full laggy now, because look at this. Absolutely sprints around everybody, around the outside. Oh no, teleports backwards. So yeah, that was very scary. I thought I was going to get a penalty for that, if I'm honest, because there was contact and the driver did go off. But fortunately, I didn't. Now we catch up to... Oh, the lag there. My word, I didn't see that when I was racing, but my word, the lag was scary. Anyway, we catch up to the German driver, and we're looking to try and get past them as quick as possible. I could sort of tell they were on the medium tyre, just with the way we caught up to them. And we're looking down the inside here. Not going to quite work. We're not really got an overlap there at all. So we keep it tight there to get a good run for this right-hander. This is what I always talk about. You don't want to compromise the right-hander. So go slow on the left and really nail the right-hander. And we're going to go around the outside here. This is a dangerous move as well that we do. But we have some more beautiful racing with Phil here. In towards the right-hander we go. And we get it stopped beautifully. And through there we go. Happy, happy, happy days. And that is the end of the race, essentially. But another superb race. I've had brilliant races throughout the day, honestly. Superb. Shout out to anybody who was having a race with me there. It was just brilliant fun. And yeah, that makes the game fun. That makes it exciting. And that's what I enjoy. So I do hope you enjoyed this video. It's been absolutely brilliant to make. And racing as well, of course. There is Ollie's stream there if you want to check out Ollie, who is live streaming right now. I have a video there of the fastest Group 4 car if you're interested in that. And my logo's there if you want to subscribe and stay up to date with all the content. Do give it a like as you leave the channel, or video, should I say. But that's going to be it for me now, folks. Have a good evening. Au revoir and farewell.